Pyrocynical is easily one of the laziest YouTubers I've seen retain a sizable amount of viewership and relevancy in recent times, and it's a mystery to me how his audience hasn't taken an axe to him yet, despite outing himself as a complete lazy degenerate. My main issue with him is just the fact that he's a raging flagrant degenerate weirdo, rather than the fact that he just produces low quality and low effort content, but I think I'm going to cover his content first in this video, and then I'll get to the degeneracy later. In one of my last videos I spoke about how Moist-Critical was another very large YouTuber that got away with producing lazy and mediocre content for his uncaring, driveling, loyal fan base, but in all actuality, Pyrocynical is a much worse offender of all the points I brought up against Moist-Critical. He is easily far worse than him, and a much better example of someone who produces purposeless and empty content to maintain their position in the YouTube algorithm. He's a shameless clone with no creative volition of his own. He saw how much success Moist-Critical got from his formula on the YouTube algorithm, and he blatantly replicated it on his own channel to farm views from his stupid audience of toddlers. He mimicked the same style of thumbnails, which are either just a screenshot of him from the video, or a picture ripped straight from Google Images, or whatever news headline he decides to cover in his video. He copies his VOD re-upload tactic, where he just takes a collage of clips from his Twitch stream, which are just him reacting to someone else's YouTube content, slaps it into YouTube export, and disguises it as a genuine commentary video in the process. And just like so many other YouTubers, he has the same undaring fence-riding middle-of-the-road takes that I hate so many other commentary YouTubers for.
I'm gonna make a very brave statement here on the Pyro Live channel, but I don't really think someone trans rights are human rights.
It's exhausting to see every commentary YouTuber just search on Reddit or Twitter for some headline-worthy story and give a boring, brief-ass summary on their channel about it so they can fulfill their upload quota. I wouldn't have such a big issue with it if I actually had something of value to take away from their video, or if they gave away any meaningful opinions about anything. It just feels like the equivalent of watching a scarce video or listening to your local news. I watch commentary channels to hear opinions, not summaries, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people feel the same exact way that I do, and are sick and tired of creators who are either too scared to say how they really feel because they want to remain on good terms with as large of an audience as possible, or they're just genuinely unthinking NPCs with nothing going on in their head, and they regurgitate the safest possible opinion about everything that's happening. Pyrocynical originally started making React commentary videos back in 2015 and 2016 when there was still an air of novelty to it and it wasn't completely oversaturated, but he's somehow gone full circle, makes the same type of content, except he puts even less effort into it and it somehow has less entertainment value. Back then he at least made a few crude comedic edits in Sony Vegas before exporting the unedited audio onto YouTube, and he at least had a few ideas and a few jokes that pushed the Overton window a bit, like using the gamer word and the dreaded F-slur.
Accept her gifts? Nah, I want no herpes.
Now he's no different than their horrible reaction channels of YouTube past like Jinx, where he watches a YouTube video and occasionally pauses to give some half-baked vapid response to whatever's happening on screen. It's like hearing the internal monologue of a toddler.
That's Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story. That's not real. That's a fan edit. There's no way. There's no way he was ever meant to look like that.
I checked his Reddit, and even his fans are starting to point out the obvious degradation in the quality of his content. And they're supposed to be the ones that will shovel in any sloppy shits out into their gullet because they have almost no standard for what constitutes high-value content. They usually don't care at all if the video isn't intellectually engaging in the slightest, and even these iPad children are starting to take an issue with just how abhorrently low effort his videos have become. You can see here that his thumbnails and titles are becoming downright indistinguishable. This is an attempt at clickbait that's supposed to make the viewer want to click on the video to see what he's talking about, but it has the exact opposite effect for me and his audience. It's actually a deterrent. I don't want to watch 30 minutes of your livestream re-upload YouTube reaction slop just to find out what you're talking about in your title. For me, it's just not important enough to spend that much time watching to find out. Just another thing I want to mention is that Pyrocynical is a complete shill and a sellout. He is legitimately, unironically bought out by China, and he constantly astroturfs for them on Twitter. He's no different from those Twitter brand accounts with big-ass gold check marks next to their name that scream, "I am a soulless corporation," trying to appear grassroots and down-to-earth by appealing to Zoomers with painfully obvious normie forced memes. I can only wonder how much he's getting paid by China planet to sell his dignity and integrity. How much does he really value his self-worth? Speaking of dignity, I think it's time to mention the other aspect of him that I have the biggest issue with and that I hate him the most for. His morally reprehensible character and heinous degeneracy. Back around 2020, he was exposed by some Discord freak fan of his that he used to have e-sex with, and he leaked numerous screenshots and DM receipts of him partaking in some atrocious furry vor fart inflation fetish roleplay while he was 15 back in the earlier days of his career.
To be honest, I'd pick you up, hug you while rubbing you against my huge sweaty boobs, then kiss you, eat your cock up with my ass, TBH, IDK, fart so long and hard on your leg. I would just crush you. You'd hear all the moaning and growling from all the animals I've eaten before.
The validity of these screenshots were disputed and generally dismissed by most commentary YouTube channels at the time, and nobody really took it seriously. The allegations were considered to be false, and everybody pretty much forgot about it until it was catapulted back into the news cycle by Turkey Tom's bombshell video trying to prove Pyrocynical's guilt using the evidence at hand. Those same commentary channels that were defending Pyrocynical's innocence and dismissing the allegations were now reconsidering the credibility of the accusations and turned against Pyro.
And he claims here that Pyro could have actually been lying in his response here.
They already kind of have this notion that he did it and he's not responding, so it looks pretty guilty on his part to a lot of people too.
Now this is the main part of the Google Doc that really set me off. I believe this piece of evidence is enough to say Pyro is in the wrong.
Whether Pyro does respond to everything or just pulls the mini lad and ignores it for as long as he can is still up in the air.
Pyrocynical's main defense against the allegations wasn't to necessarily disprove or deny the claims entirely, but rather subvert their severity. His entire counter-argument can basically be summed up to him saying, well, he wasn't actually 15, he was 16.
And Ivory linked me his Twitter profile. The age in bio says 16. This is something I acknowledged in my Reddit post. But to be fair, I probably didn't elaborate enough on it. Legally, age of consent is 16 in both my country and his state.
And his mentally stunted cringe normie safe space band kid audience that he's cultivated over the years ate it up and immediately turned back against Tom. They were doing things like dislike bombing his video and brigading the comment section with their unfunny, uncreative, insufferable liberal Twitter tier memes.
You guys know how many dislikes this video has? It won't let me see it right now, but it has like 100,000 dislikes. This video has 1 million views and only 12,000 likes, and you've got all these like meme shithead comments.
Even after Turkey Tom released a response video making perfectly valid counter-arguments to all of Pyrocynical's rebuttals, his audience's mind couldn't be changed again. Tom was blackballed into never touching the subject again and eventually letting the drama naturally die out, and it had become a permanent stain on his career that everybody knows about but nobody really brings up anymore because everyone has since moved on. Unlike many other YouTubers that receive backlash for their controversial opinions about other creators that go against the grain, Tom actually stayed true to himself, and he still stands by with what he said in the video, and still believes that Pyro did what he said he did.
Remember this video had 94k dislikes and they never apologized? True, I didn't, and I never will.
I think Tom just didn't believe the evidence was substantial enough to prove Pyrocynical's guilt beyond reasonable doubt, so he couldn't really go any farther with it. And besides, he reflected on the entire situation in this interview, and pretty much implied that he regrets standing up for what he believed was right, and learned a very valuable lesson about the YouTube commentary community as a whole. The lesson was that YouTube actually punishes people who stand by what's right and who speak out against other popular creators' wrongdoings.
And like during the Pyrocynical stuff, when that happened, I lost like 3 months of revenue. I was making nothing on YouTube. I wanted to do the right thing, and I said what I believed in, and that definitely cost. I'm not trying to make myself seem like some gay martyr, but it definitely cost a little bit. But at this point, I think that was the last time I plan to stick my neck out for anyone on the internet. For now, I'm just gonna make the videos that I can.
What's hilarious to me is that we've known Pyrocynical as a massive vile degenerate since 2015 after Keemstar received leaks from some unknown source about Pyrocynical being a furry and attending furry conventions, and he was willing to use it as ammunition against him once they got in some trivial YouTube beef.
Pyrocynical is a furry that goes to furry conventions that gets in the ass by 40-year-old men in giraffe costumes. We are dealing with a idiot, but not just an idiot, a furry that goes to a furry convention.
And this whole fiasco spawned the infamous Files on top of Files Twitter video.
Just please swing at me. If you're gonna swing at me, dude. Let me know, because I got a files on top of files to swing back at.
For years, Pyrocynical denied the allegations of him being a furry and attending furry conventions, just for him to come out years later and admit to things far worse than anyone originally accused him of, and being into fetishes far worse than anyone could have possibly imagined.
Recently, YouTube's resident rat Keemstar has been stirring up a lot of trouble for people in the YouTube community, whether it be him fabricating information.
Pyro legitimately invited a large YouTuber to go to a furry convention.
When I was 19 and 20, I liked to take part in this degenerate furry roleplay with pretty much anyone that would reciprocate. And looking back on it now, the word cringe, that doesn't near do enough justice to how sad this all was.
Honestly, whether Pyrocynical engaged in degen furry fart inflation fetish roleplay with a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old, virtually makes no difference to me. Like, let's be honest. Optically, it's just as deplorable and just as degenerate. I miss the days on this platform where people would ostracize and exile others for being proven flagrant degenerates, and we wouldn't have to split the hairs of the evidence just to justify keeping them in our good graces. People like this are supposed to be exiled and forgotten. How can this guy be openly a cross-dresser, furry fart inflation fetishist, roleplay enthusiast, and still maintain a position amongst the YouTube commentary community? Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Join my Discord, please. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.